Kia ora, kia ora. Welcome to Entrepreneur's Edge with myself, Tyrone and Pussy. Another week where we talk about business-related things to help our Māori and Pacific entrepreneurs win at this business thing. Okay, so before we get into it, we always do a check-in. So, Pussy, bro, how's your week been?
Been good, man. I had an opportunity this week to kind of work on the business, especially when a lot of business owners out there who can relate, you're working in the business, you are what we call an operator, treadmill operator owner. So in order for the business to run, you've got to be working in it, whether that's delivering the service, making the product, whatever it is. But I've got a team as well, but in terms of I look after the sales, and so I've been able to like not intentionally meet with clients and just
Mm,
focus on building the pipeline and systemize because the long-term goal is to automate a lot of stuff. And so for those who don't know, Tyrone's helping me out a lot with the sales and the automation and the AI side of things for my business. So he's my external support. So I use the CRM tool, which I highly recommend. Reach out to him if you want to subscribe to the CRM tool that they've got. It's honestly a really good deal. And with the CRM tool, man, I'm just having fun with it. It's like my new. I was telling my wife the other day. I was like, it feels like it's my new PlayStation game. Like, I just having fun with it. I just want to clock it. Like, I was like, how does this work? I want to master this. So it's like my new game. So yeah, I'm just enjoying working on the business. Like last night, before bed, because I had that much fun with it. I was building my workflow automation. So now, and
mm,
then I recorded a video and I passed it on to my VA. I'm like, hey, this is the new process. It's very automated. This is what I need you to do whenever you come across a lead. Fill in this form. Boom, 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 and then it pops up on my pipe drive, and then it's and I get an email notification that she's done it, and it's easy. It's just all I need to do is wake up in the morning, open up my computer, check my pipeline, and if nothing's in there, then I just go back to the VA. It's like, hey, what's going on? So you can track, you can measure. But anyway, long story short, bro, I'm just having a lot of fun with the CRM tool this week. So that's been awesome. It's been awesome, and also just watching. I attended last week. We'll probably talk a little bit about it. You probably mentioned it. The AI brunch.
mm.
So Ngāhere Communities hosted one out in Manukau, had all people from the community come together and just, there was a panel of people, Dan Walker from Microsoft, we had Tyrone himself here, him and his wife from Second Half and all the AI they do, but pretty much the panel just giving insights and perspectives and advice around using AI to grow the impact and the social impact, especially if you're in that space, right? So yeah, I just want to say you did an awesome job, bro. I was very proud. And if you want to go check out that whole panel discussion, we'll also drop a link as well because I recorded the whole thing. It's on YouTube.
Yeah,
So
cool.
that was pretty cool, man. That was my highlights anyway.
Cool. Awesome, bro. Yeah, appreciate the love there. And yeah, definitely check out the content. Thanks to Pussy for putting it together and yeah, recording it because it's always good to kind of have that stored. In terms of my kind of chicken, yeah, man, like I've been kind of on the opposite side of Pussy. So I think I've been spending a bit of time trying to do kind of the background stuff or, the stuff that's really important. But sometimes for me anyway, I'll do that because there might not be enough customers or clients coming through. So you've got some time to work on it. But I've actually been a lot of delivery over the last week. So one being the kind of impact branch. But I'm also working on a project with Ngāhere communities at the moment, supporting some of our whānau to get kind of into meaningful opportunities, whether that be jobs or whether that be into their own thing. And that's um, taken a bit of my time, which has been actually quite fun. And kind of, I think for me, with the work that I do, I really enjoy business and, how to add value to people, but, being able to be in a more intimate group and kind of understand, what people are going through and seeing what they want to achieve. And, our podcast is all about how do we support our Māori Pacific whānau to, really win in business. And I find that, many of us want to just win in life in general, and
Mm,
sometimes these opportunities, like whether it's through business or whether it's sharing other opportunities that exist, not everyone has what I thought the access, obviously, like actually just, and when I say access, not just meaning like um just money and job opportunities, but even just to talk to someone about their idea. I always forget that some people are just like they've got all these ideas, but potentially they're not in spaces that allow them to express those ideas. So that's been really interesting this week, just to sit with people and hear them, dream about, what they want to achieve,
Nice.
and then we're trying our best to support them. So yeah, been a lot of delivery, been facilitating a lot of workshops, even being an Uber driver, driving people around. But I've really enjoyed my weekend, and fortunate enough to jump on our radio yesterday as well to kind of talk about some
Yeah.
of the mahi. So that was cool, and just to kind of have a bit of fun with this kind of conversation, because it is serious, the stuff around AI and business and all of that. But I think I'm sure Posse says the same thing, is that we're in a space where we can design what we do in terms of a business, but we even design our days. So it's kind of interesting
Nice.
to like just go through all these different things. And when people ask, "What do you do this
Mm.
week?" I'm like, "Oh shucks, like where do I start?" There's probably dipping my hands in too many pies at the moment, but like, yeah, it's quite all over, but also fun at the same time. So today we're going to talk a little bit more into, I think, something that's come up in both of our worlds around what stuff we do, but also we've kind of been in conversations and kind of heard the stuff around, how do you actually go out there and um, I guess not just get funding, but how do we do proposals? How do we win bids? How do we go about this whole process? So today's conversation, it's going to be us talking about our experience in those spaces, and hopefully sharing some insights that can help people if they are tending for contracts, filling in applications, how they can go about it the best way. So I might just chuck it over to you, bro. Like, kind of share some of your experience around kind of being in the space.
Yeah, I mean, I just go back to my early days, and I'm sure a lot of people are at that stage where, you're kind of transitioning into like, well, you wanting to get more business. And it's more than just going to the same client. You want new clients, or maybe you want to win a contract with big clients like the government. Um, I would say first of all, because me and Tyrone, a lot of our businesses, we do tender for contracts, right? And with tendering, it's competitive, just like they do in construction. If you're a construction business, unless you have a loyal and go-to customer that works with you, but for the most part, all these construction companies are tendering for this job. Ministry of Education might come up and be like, "Hey, we need a school built here or a classroom built here. We're looking for construction businesses. Here's the brief in RFP," and then all these construction businesses have to tender for it, right? But it's what I'm saying is that tendering is not just limited to construction. You've got education and training, you've got audio, you might be in the creative media space. There's stuff in that as well. There's also stuff for like Moldy and Pacifica specifically. So I would recommend like get familiar with platforms out there so that you know where to find opportunities, and then you can start tendering, because you can't tender for something you don't know if it exists or not, right? So subscribe to Gets. You need a Realme LinkedIn account for that. So that's GETS.govt.nz. Okay. So definitely go on there and subscribe, create an account. And yeah, just look for these opportunities, network as well. Sign up. I also say sign up with organizations like Amotai Pacific Business Trust, because their job is to support Pacifica and Māori businesses. And if opportunities come about, their job is to make sure you know about it. But you've
Mm,
got to be a part of their database. You've got to sign up and be a part of their database, right?
yeah,
So I would recommend look at Pacific Business Trust, especially if you're a Pacific business owner, and look at Amotai. Amotai, Amotai. Okay, they support modern Pacific businesses. Anyway, with that being said, all those platforms, all those networks as well can help. Like, now let's say, assume you're ready to start pitching something, because that's really what it is. You're just pitching, right? You're not guaranteed anything. So when these opportunities come out, they're like, this is what we're looking for. This is the type of supplier we're looking for. Suppliers, just another say business suppliers like us. And then you've got to put your proposal together. It's like a job interview. Like I was telling Tyrone, it's like, when you're applying for jobs, you got your CV, and you're applying for different jobs. You've got to tailor your CV to, and your cover letter to suit those jobs. And if you're lucky, you'll get the phone call, get the first job interview, right? So remember, just because you've submitted your CV or your proposal doesn't guarantee you're going to win something, but your chances are high if you put in a really good proposal.
yeah, yeah. Awesome, awesome. Yeah. So obviously, Pussy's had a lot of experience in this, and we were chatting offline around some of our experiences. And I think for me too, just adding on to what you're saying, I feel um, this might take someone that's a bit more, I guess, matured into the understanding of what they want to be. But there's obviously this whole process that you can go for teams and contracts. And Pussy's mentioned some good places in which you can go have a look. Um, and I think part of that conversation is also sitting with it yourself or with the team to actually go, what do we want to achieve? Because if you know what you want to achieve, then you can go and see what ones that are more applicable to you. So there's obviously a lot that happen in industries, and Pussy kind of mentioned that it's across the board. There's different things that you can apply for. But as an example for me, there's been a lot of projects that I've kind of not gone for because I'm like, oh, I like what it is. There's definitely money there, but there's some things that we are wanting to achieve and it doesn't necessarily align. But again, you don't have to do that straight off. I would say go and have a look at stuff first. You might want to just get familiar, see what's out there. And then I think the more, I guess, mature your business gets, or as you as an owner get, you might go, there's certain ones that I want to do over the other ones, but it's all different depending on your situation. And I guess, for us, let's talk into some real talk, bro. Like, give us some experiences you've had where you've like obviously you've tendered, you've gone through it, and something that you've learned from like not winning one. Like, let us know, like, you went for a process, didn't work, and what did you learn from that?
Yeah. Um, in fact, I'll probably start with. I'll give you a variety. I mean, with proposal writing, right? That's the first step. Just I remember like when I put my first proposal together, at education, with the Ministry for Pacific Peoples, we tendered for a proposal, um, to help more Pacifica get into home ownership. So it was a very competitive process, and we tended to be very successful in that one. On the other hand, at that same time, where we put a proposal together for another client, I won't say who they are, and we didn't get it, and we were very gutted. But that was the first time I ever experienced, like, man, we put our heart and sweat into something, a proposal. We thought it was blooming good. We thought we would get
Mm,
it, but we didn't get it. And so sometimes you've got to deal with, like, the yeah, call it failure, but you just got to accept the fact that you can't win it all, right?
mm,
But but always give your best input. Yeah, always
mm,
give your best proposal. Treat it as if you're gonna win it, that you want to win it. Okay. But yeah, I think just that navigating that emotional, when you win and when you
mm,
lose. But as a business owner, that's the reality. Yeah, you win clients, you lose clients. But I'll say that was the biggest thing starting off, the emotional stuff, especially when you were back then we didn't have ChatGPT, right? So you can write proposals quick. So you don't have
mm,
this huge emotional attachment to it because back then you'd spend like maybe a week, man, writing a good proposal,
yep,
proofreading it, refining it, back and forth. And then, this whole weeks of work just to get a no. Like
mm,
that can be a lot on somebody.
yep.
So yeah, yeah. That was one of the biggest learning curves for us if I'm talking real talk.
Yeah, yeah, cool, awesome. Yeah, I say awesome too because I think you sharing that learning, and even to your point, right? Even though we can utilize some of these AI tools to help us with our writing, and we'll talk. I think more specifically on that, or more practically on that soon. Um, there is an emotional journey that you go on with these things because you are trying to win something, and for a lot of us out there, especially when we're trying to go for these things, it might be connected to the livelihood of your business, the livelihood of others that you're hoping to kind of resource to help you with whatever that project may be. So there's a lot, it feels like, that's on the line, and I think it's really good to talk into how do you as a person know what you're going into, and how do you have, I guess, strategies in place to make sure that um, whether you win or lose, you can, I guess, tune in emotionally and make sure that it doesn't destroy you from that kind of space as well. For me, talking to some real talk, like there's some, I won't kind of name the project and all that, but there's some projects that I've won, um, and I guess I've realized that I wrote the project to, yes, get the opportunity, but I kind of focus probably more on the money that was attached to it, not the actual things that I wanted to do in that project. Um, so I've kind of learned the other side of like, yeah, man, we won it, we got it, and then I like, dang, I actually don't truly believe in what we're trying to achieve here now, given some of the stuff we've learned about this project. So I think there's kind of those learnings that I've gone through multiple times, and that's, again, this is more of a reflection on myself, not just the client, because it does take two to tango. But I think, sometimes, and again, it might be talking from a little bit of a privilege, like people are like, yeah, but you won the contract and all that. Yeah, but you kind of learn that. And going back to what I said around trying to understand where do you see yourself and what do you want to achieve, you start to learn that, there are different opportunities and also require different energies, and there's also different competing interests around, what's been trying to be achieved anyway. So I think for me, what I've learned from that process is, again, to just kind of always kind of ask myself, what are we trying to achieve? What are we trying to do? Because that kind of comes back to what are the things we want to apply to as well. So I guess I want to get a little bit more into like the practical stuff, right? So how do you go through proposal writing now? Like, what is kind of the practical steps? I know you mentioned where you go to potentially look at stuff, but leading on from that, like, how do you go about the writing?
Yeah, so that great question. So let's assume I found an opportunity that I want to start tendering for, right? Or for those job seekers, the same analogy or metaphor, you found a job that you want to start applying for, right? So let's say I found an opportunity. Normally, I follow a simple framework called Spark. It just keeps things simple because I found that the anatomy of all proposals are the same in terms of there's always a problem that they want you to solve. That's always part of the proposal, or the RFP. And you've got to put a proposal that helps reflect that. And then the solution. So I use the one called Spark, right? Spark, SPARK, right? You might want to write this down for those who are listening, but I'll read it out here. So basically, S stands for what is the situation or the problem? like make sure you understand what the problem is, or the get better context situation. So that's S. P is what is your proposed solution? How are you going to solve this? If this is the problem, like what solution do you have to offer? Is that in your service? Is that through the expertise or capability of your people or yourself that can help with that? Is it through partnering up with another organization to help solve that? That's your unique solution, right? Or offering. Like there's many ways to craft a solution. Just think about that. Okay, your proposed solution. So that's S and P. A is advantages. Now, why you? Why should I choose you and your team? Why should I choose your service? So you always got to think about what is your unique proposition? What makes you different? What makes you stand out from the crowd? What's that little edge, entrepreneur's edge that you have, right? Like for me, one of the things I always put forward in my proposals is that we have a podcast because no other training provider has a podcast. This is one way that we can reach and serve these communities. It's part of our pastoral care. We get influencers on this podcast. We interview them. It's another way of learning, conversation, right?
Mm,
We have an app, right? Like those are little things that we add in there to say, choose us because of this, because we're more than just building programs and facilitating awesome workshops, right?
yep.
Then that's A for advantage. R is results. Okay. Always back up your stuff with outcomes and impact. How are you going to measure this impact? Like the solution that you're doing, once you've done it, how do we know that it's actually helping to solve the problem? How do you measure the impact? Okay. And then also the results also means show proof of work that you've done. Like show results, talk about results or the impact that you've done. That's going to give you more credibility, right? So a lot of the RFPs will ask you for that anyway. They'll be like, give us proof that you've worked with Moni and Pacifica. Give us proof that you have done this, right? So that's results. Again, results. How are you going to measure the impact? Okay, as part of your solution. And then the other part of results is show us proof or past results. Why should we trust you? Where's your credibility? And then the last one, the K, my favorite, no, just kidding, is kaching. Kaching. When you hear that, people think of money. But for this, it's not about like how much money am I going to make? It's more about what is the budget that's required to execute your proposal or the solution, and what's the value as well. Okay, what is the value, the ROI of this? What is the benefit of them working with you, implementing your solution? And when you're talking about the ROI, not just in terms of money value, but in terms of data, like paint the picture, like this is the impact that we're going to create, the benefit of working with us. This is the ROI, right? There's going to be an uplift in terms of percentage for this if you work with
Mm,
us. We're going to make this much change. We're going to, target this much people. So, yeah, kaching. What is the budget and the value? Okay. So again, SPARK, Spark. If that's basically the same anatomy or template or framework for all RFPs. Okay,
mm,
so hopefully that I'm just sharing that with you guys because I want to keep things really simple, and even with things like ChatGPT and AI, you can use that framework and use the RFP to help craft your proposal, right?
mm.
So what used to take me a week can now take me like 2 hours, half a day or something, not as
Yeah.
long. So anyway, yeah, hopefully that helps, bro. That was kind of like a workshop there,
Yeah, mean.
but I just wanted to make sure that we're giving people practical examples, and that is what I call a tool that you
Yep.
could use. Spark. Yeah, over to you, bro.
Amazing, bro. Ah, amazing. Like, usually we try and do you share something, I share something, or I share something, you share something. I don't have to share anything more on that. I think that's actually amazing. So let's just see if I remember it. So S is for what's the situation, P is for what's the proposal, A is for what's the advantage, R is what's the results, and K is for kaching. Bro, that's amazing, bro. Yeah, we're definitely gonna put that together and maybe share that out to more of our people around how they can go about their process. But that's amazing. So I got nothing else to add to that. But I did want to kind of ask because obviously there's this whole proposal writing space. But me and you talked offline around some other things that kind of come with kind of I guess winning stuff, and one of them being, social media and how you build your presence. Like, I don't know if you want to talk into that, but is there anything else that, when it comes to putting, tendering for contracts, putting proposals together, is there anything outside of kind of the writing thing that you think that people should be like taking, taking notice of and doing as well?
Brother, that's a really great question. And glad you asked that because our people need to know that it's more than just submitting a proposal. Okay. Um, you've got to look at it this way. Think of the panel who's going to receive all these different RFPs from people or these proposals from all these different suppliers, right? They are the ones who are going to discuss and make a decision. So that's what's happening behind the scenes after all these proposals have been submitted by the deadline. Just imagine a group of people coming together, reviewing all of them, and be like, okay, we'll have to narrow it down. So, how do you influence those decision makers beyond a piece of paper or paperwork that you've submitted? Right. So, if you look at it in terms of that influence, look like let's say for example at like Ministry of Education, Ministry of Social Development, or whatever it is. A lot of these people, these decision makers, or people who are involved in the process, are hanging out on platforms like LinkedIn. A lot of these people will do their research before they make a decision. They're not just going to rely on this piece of paper that you've submitted. They're going to do background research on your business. They're gonna call your references that you've put in there. They're gonna look at your social media. They're gonna check out your website, right? You want to make sure when they are calling those references, or when they are looking at your website, when they are looking at your social media, that it's active and it makes them want to trust you. Okay, you should be posting on social media not for the likes, but to build trust. Okay, me and Tyrone talked about this on our last podcast. Make sure you go listen to our last podcast, episode 7. Okay, because we talked about building a reputation that attracts clients. Okay, so if you listen to that podcast and you implement some of that stuff in terms of social media and all of that influence, that is the edge that we're talking about. Like, what is the entrepreneur's edge that you need to win in business? You don't want to just be like the same as everyone else. You want to be that 1%, the one who is different and who stands out. Okay. So again, coming back to the original question, what can it do beyond just submitting paperwork in their proposal, is work on their social media, work on networking, work on their digital presence as well.
Mm,
Because they're all going to be
mm.
looking at that. They're going to be stalking you. I'm telling you.
Yeah, totally. And I, just kind of think about it, right? When we're thinking about contracts that we may be going through, and think about from like kind of small grants all the way to like really big opportunities that maybe in the millions. If you think about it, even for the small ones, but more obviously for the bigger ones, if they have no idea about you, how are they going to trust to give over all of this money? So yes, it's about how do we make sure that we write these proposals that really speak into how what you can do or what we can do to really add value and make sure we deliver on what is needed. But like Pussy said, there's all these other things that are surrounding, and I've found through my experience that because we've built not just a good application, but because we've kind of raised our presence, whether that be online or through the stuff that through even through physically, whether that be networking, to actually going out and reaching out to the people that that might be on this other side of actually ticking this off, going actually like let's build a relationship, a real relationship, and not just because of their money, but part of this proposal writing, and this is just through my experience, is that we talked about situation with that whole spark model. Sometimes it's very hard to know what the problem that they're trying to solve. Yes, they'll give it in word form, but sometimes it's actually best to go and sit with the people and go, actually, like, what are you guys actually dealing with? Like, what is actually going on? Because then you can use that and go, actually, we could help with that. But now that I know a bit more around what the project is and what maybe the problem that they have, we can even write our proposal even better to make sure that we are going to deliver on that. And I'm not saying to wing it and just say like, cool, we're going to just say we can help because I know it. It's like, actually, this is where you start getting in tune of like, actually, how do we actually add value to this whole process? And part of that is building rapport, part of that is building the presence, and then part of that is actually submitting something that they're like, wow, like why wouldn't we? Okay, so that's all a part of it. So yes, this is all about talking about proposals, but I think me and Pasi both share that there's a lot more to this. And also um, I've found that people are like, oh, I don't want to do all that work. Then I'm like, well, that's a question you have to answer for yourself, because that's what it actually does take to not only just satisfy what's needed for that project and potentially winning it, but actually delivering a good job. And I feel like for us, I really want to push that, and I believe that our people, everyone, but our people can deliver good jobs, and it does require all that effort to really do that. And I know myself and Pussy and the different things we do, we go over and beyond. We talked about service in some of our previous episodes. Like there is a level of service that happens way before you get the project, and those that do it, those that commit to it, don't always see the kind of money at the end of it, but you build this you build this understanding of like, okay, sweet, I actually know how to go about this process even better in the next ones. Okay, so yeah, this is kind of why we've created the Entrepreneur's Edge, because there is a framework that we even are creating that is as cool as what Pussy shared around the Spark, but we're kind of talking into this. How do we focus on opportunities that may exist and execute on those opportunities, but how do we go through a process of building ourselves and building our businesses throughout that process as well? So um, I don't know how long this has gone for, bro, but I think we've got into a time where we could probably wrap up. But is there anything else you would like to share, I guess, in the space of kind of winning contracts, winning proposals?
Yeah, I think first one is like emphasizing what you said there, like all the hard work starts before an RFP gets put out, right?
Yeah,
And when I say RFP, it's any proposal, right? It's not just for funding. It could be with a client, like an actual commercial, private, direct B2B or B2C business transaction, right? Or proposal opportunity. It's not always government funding that we're talking about, just proposals in general. The principles and frameworks are pretty much the same. But all the hard work starts before you submit anything. Again, building trust, social media presence, like influence people before the opportunity even comes up, right? If you know the type of clients that you work with are construction businesses, then start influencing them on social media. Connect with them on LinkedIn. Just keep them in your circle. Just stay connected. When opportunity comes up, the relationship, the influence, the trust is already there. Okay? Don't start when a proposal or RFP comes out, or opportunity. Okay. The last thing is a lot of Pacifica and multi businesses. The mistake that I've seen time and time again is sometimes they overcomplicate things or they under explain in there as
mm,
well, right? And a lot of that happens because they work in isolation. I get it. Like sometimes it's hard to go find support. And for us, Pacific and Māori, we're very community oriented. So where's the community? Where's the people? I can count on one hand, how many men, Pacifica, Māori men that I know personally who are business owners. The rest are all employed somewhere. So and we're all busy, and sometimes it's hard to get together. But what I'm saying is you need to surround yourself, network with people who can help support you, right? So you're not working in isolation because you can only do so much by yourself. Right, lean on other people for help and support around writing these proposals. The other thing is, and this is pretty big because there was a video that my mate sent me from Kurike's charity, a recent interview from government. The government has recently talked about some of the budgets that they've come out with, right?
Mhm.
And one of the big things that they're really focused on is data. They're not just going to hand out money just because it's a good cause or social impact. They're going to distribute money and funding where there is proof, where the data shows that it's working and it's needed. A lot of Pacifica business owners, Māori business owners, do not capture data, and they do not put data in their proposals or on their website or anywhere. I'm talking about, like, for his education, with, instead of saying we've trained thousands of Māori Pacifica, like, you got to be more specific. What's the number? Right? For this initiative, we trained 450 Māori Pacifica over 2 years. Boom! Like, that is much more powerful. People look at there, be like, that's results, that's number. So if I give him this money or her this money, that's what the impact I'm going to get. Like, that's more measurable. So what I'm saying is, start capturing data now. You know, count how many customers you're helping. Ask them how much money they're making because of their relationship and service with you, working with you. Like, collect data. Okay, and a lot of our people, yes, we want to put our heart in it. Yes, it's not we're not about the money and the numbers, but guess what? If you're not measuring it, like, how do you know if you're progressing? Numbers
Mm,
is a good language to use to help identify and measure whether you're making an impact or not. How much impact in detail? So that's probably what I'll say, because that would help you with your proposals. Okay, data, data, data. Start capturing it, make it part of your process, and throw it in your proposals. That's my
yeah,
last thing I'll probably say, bro.
cool, awesome, bro. And yeah, I just wanted to kind of dovetail on that, share some of my own things too around that as well. Is that data, or numbers and all of that is one side of it, and then, like, what I think what majority of our businesses are good at, is also the storytelling. So there's kind of the two sides of it. But yeah, I've seen too that a lot of our whānau don't put all the data side into it, and unfortunately, fortunately, whether you look at it, especially with the government that we have right now, they are going to look more at the data. So having that accompanied with everything else that you've got going on creates a fuller proposal. Again, raising your influence, trust, and presence out there. All of that matters. Okay. Again, it doesn't mean 100% you're going to win stuff, but you're going to give yourself the best possible chance. And when we're talking about, the starter stuff, we also talk about numbers. We're talking about probability here. So how do you increase the probability that you will succeed and win? Okay, and the only other thing I wanted to add on, I know that today has been talking about proposals, but we have talked about creating offers and all of that in previous episodes. But one thing that I just want to kind of make a distinction too is that you can create a hybrid business where you kind of have offers and you go for tenders, similar to what I think me and Pasi do in our own businesses. But there's kind of different energies that are required too. So usually for contracts, you are going out to hopefully get resources from someone to deliver on something. But then there's things that you can create that people come to you and you kind of work with them as well. So I think that something that I never kind of got told when I first started, but I think it's really important to share, especially for my journey that I've gone on. Is that there's kind of different ways to kind of go about it, and also requires different energy. You can hybrid it if you want. You also don't have to, but they also have their kind of pros and cons when operating in that fashion as well. So yeah, you can create offers and get people a part of your pipeline, working up your pipeline. You can do that with kind of tendering contracts, but it's a lot of a different thing, because then you get into a process of like, cool, now that they're in our pipeline, we also have to create opportunity. We have to kind of understand what are they trying to achieve and write to it as well, which has its purposes and benefits doing that process as well. So yeah, I thought I'd just share that and show you we're talking about a lot of things within our episodes, but yeah, hopefully we can make it simple enough for you guys to understand. And if you want to know more, please sign up to our website. We are putting this content as emails through our website, so you can have even further things to either read or understand about it, and then also opportunities to engage with us if you want to work with us on any of these things that we've talked about as well. So yeah, that's us for another week. We'll be back again next week talking about different things to help you, especially our Māori and Pacific whānau, win that business. But yeah, that's us.
Awesome. Cheers.